tilting at windmills. The attack on Rupert Murdoch's power in Britain is emboldening Julia Gillard to take on his news empire on home turf.
And I think that does mean that Australians here look at News Limited and they've probably got some hard questions that they want answered.
News Limited's boss released a statement saying those comments were unjustified and regrettable, adding, "There is absolutely no connection between events in the UK and our business in Australia." The Prime Minister isn't saying which questions in particular she'd like News Limited to answer.
When we see a big thing happen overseas, it causes us to reflect on circumstances in our own nation. So I'm saying no more or no less than that.
But one in her government is saying more than that.
I suspect that there are cosy relationships which have been entered into between various journalists and various media companies and the police.
Mr Thompson didn't directly point to News Limited except to draw parallels with the allegations against News International in London.
Police commissioners would do well to look at what has gone on in the United Kingdom and to say to their police forces, we don't want that. We want a transparent relationship. We want an arm's length, formal, proper relationship with the media.
The allegations of police bribery and phone hacking might seem a long way from the carbon tax, but they feed into the government's complaints about News Limited's coverage of its plans.
The Daily Telegraph is interested in distorting the debate.
The Daily Telegraph in Sydney is constantly opposing a price on carbon, doesn't care how it does it.
They say there's a clear bias in favour of what they're calling Tony Abbott's fear campaign. Today he was speaking to workers in the power generation industry in Victoria's Latrobe Valley.
The Latrobe Valley is under threat from this carbon tax. The problem with this carbon tax is that it's going to close down over time an enormous amount of the power generating capacity of this valley.
The government's been running a $12 million ad campaign to counter Mr Abbott's claims. Tomorrow comes the retort. Latelines obtained a full-page ad to be run in tomorrow's paper, calling the government's tax excessive and paid for by a coalition of coal, mining, retail and manufacturing lobby groups. Today, though, it was the opposition leader feeling a little pain with a dawn dip in Port Phillip Bay.
What's the water like? It's freezing.
This all just goes to show Mr Abbott will do and say anything to keep his negative campaign up because he's all about the politics, not about the nation's future.
Kevin Rudd was championing quite another policy today.
The Donate Life campaign around the country is really important. We still have a couple of thousand people on organ transplant lists around Australia.
The Foreign Minister was once one himself when he got a new heart aorta 18 years ago.
It's wearing out. The docs have said, Kev, it's time for a new one. And so, being the obedient soul that I am, I've decided to take their advice, and that's what's happening.
There'll be an operation sometime in the next few weeks to fix that worn-out aorta, and if all goes well, a couple of months recovery time after that. The Foreign Minister says he's looking forward to returning to work, which is just as well for the government. A by-election in his Brisbane seat could cost Julia Gillard the lodge. Tom Eagleton, Lateline.